Hello, this is Quinn. Welcome to the Beantown Podcast. Coming to you live from 817 St. Paul Street here in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland, where it is a casual and cool 35 degrees outside. What's going on? How are you? Welcome one, welcome all to the inaugural Beantown Podcast. Gotta tag this with listener discretion. Portions of the podcast will contain inappropriate language. Other portions are just objectively terrible to listen to. So there is your tag. I'm doing all right. Got over a cold that was sprung upon me last weekend, but worked through it this week. Read some applications. Went and saw Lady Bird again. Good stuff. We can talk about that later. NFL playoffs starting this weekend. Not starting. They started last weekend. What am I talking about? Starting for the big dogs, the 1 and 2 seeds, Patriots, Steelers, Eagles, and Vikings. Let's see. This afternoon we have Falcons and Eagles from Lincoln Financial up there in Philly. Should be a fun game. Everyone seems to be picking the Falcons, and hey, I don't know. Because, Nick Foles is pretty average backup quarterback, but hey, that Eagles defense, I think they're going to give the Falcons some fits. So we'll see. Should be entertaining. Hopefully better than last week when we had to watch the frickin' Bills and Jaguars, although we got to watch the Titans play New England tonight, which is going to be a murder. Frickin' Patriots. All right, what's going on? Let's jump on in here. Purpose of this podcast is not to be entertaining, not pretending to be a comedian, so I apologize for that. Honestly, what I'm doing here is just sort of more of a journaling experience for my life, for things that are happening around me, so hopefully I can look back at some point in the future and, give it a listen, see what's been happening. I know myself, and, I was raised, my siblings were the same way, to write in your journal every day, come up with things that are happening, kind of a time capsule sort of thing. And I think my oldest brother still journals here and there as far as I'm aware, but I know myself, and I know that I don't take time to write things down or really remember stuff that's been going on. But there have been a couple occasions in my life. One that comes to mind is when I was an orientation leader in my undergrad experience a couple years back, and they had us write a letter to ourselves at like the beginning of our training period in the spring, and then basically, you can see where this is going. We seal the letters, we open them back up, like, I don't know if it was like 6 months or a year later. It just kind of gives you a sense of what was on your mind, what's going on, what's important to you at that point in your life, what are you passionate about, and I don't know, it's a very interesting emotion that you get from reading letters to yourself. And that's something that I would love to take advantage of more. So consider this my letters to myself, and for anyone else out there who's listening, thanks for listening. I won't keep you too long. This isn't going to be an hour-long spiel. Probably rarely will it even hit, half an hour, but just here to talk. It's pretty loose. There's not much of a script or an outline. We're just kind of hanging out, just talking, seeing what's been going on in the past week. So got a couple things I I want to touch on here today. First and foremost, I want to thank one of my best friends, Matthew Fiedler. Didn't necessarily come up with a project, but talked to me about it and encouraged me to go for it. And I bought a microphone here. We got a Samsung. What is this? The 250 Samsung, not Samsung. Oh, it's a knockoff brand. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where they're in Florida and they're doing the tip calculators, and Kramer gets them the knockoff tip calculators from is it Bob Sacamano's father or something like that? It's good stuff. And Klompus is pissed, and it's a good episode. I will watch that later today, and I'll report back to you. But so it's a Samson, like in the Bible, Samson and Delilah. Hey there, Delilah. Do. Plain white tees. Whatever happened to those guys? They've got Hey there, Delilah, and that rhythm of love song. Do. That's a good song. I enjoy that one. That's a fun one. But yeah, those guys kind of dropped off. Anyways, it is Martin Luther King Jr. weekend here in the U.S. I have work off on Monday, which is exciting. I was thinking about taking a trip because 3-day weekend, really have no plans. On my agenda for this weekend is cleaning my apartment, doing laundry, which I did this morning. I'm getting back into my running routine, hopefully, tomorrow morning for the first time. Have not really run since my last marathon, which was in Arlington and Washington in late October. Pulled my hamstring during that race. I was severely underprepared, which is just one of the more stupid things I've ever done. What happened then was probably 2 or 3 weeks after that, I was just running a 5K right there in downtown Baltimore along the water and felt the hamstring twinge again and couldn't run on it. Collapsed, actually, which was a little scary. But so walked back to my apartment and just been resting, honestly, for, I don't know, it's probably been a little over 2 months at this point, about 2 months. So I'm anxious to get back into it. I gained a decent amount of weight between then and about a week ago, but starting January 1st, really, New Year's Eve was the last time I had a drink. I have not been drinking alcohol, which definitely helped. You look in the mirror, you can see it. Look at my face, you can see it. And just been eating better as well. Got lucky this past week. I've been pretty sick, so I really haven't had much of an appetite. Haven't had breakfast since last Friday, so it's been 8 days now, which isn't good. I don't encourage that, but it does help with the calorie counting. So I've been at about, 13 to 1,600 calories a day, and that's kind of jump-started it a little bit. So been drinking lots of tea, which is something that's new for me, and I really have been enjoying it. So anyways, I'm all over the place here. Let's start with what I promised I'd start with, Lady Bird. I wrote a pretty extensive review of it on a Google Doc that I don't think I've shared, but I can put that out there later. But I saw Lady Bird for the first time pretty close to after it came out, which was a month and a half ago. And I was just kind of bumming around my apartment one of these past weeknights this week. Didn't have anything to do. There wasn't anything sports-wise I wanted to watch, so I went and saw Lady Bird for the second time, which was awesome. I don't remember the last time I saw a movie in theaters twice, but it did with Lady Bird. If you haven't seen it, if you've just been listening to the hype, people are saying, oh, you have to go see it. I try not to hype up movies too much because I hate when people are like, oh, my God, you have to see this, or you have to listen to this song, or you have to read this book, right? Because it just sets you up for disappointment. If you're someone like me who likes to play devil's advocate and kind of finds emotional comfort in that kind of devil's advocate, underdog sort of frame of mind, then right, you don't want to say, oh yeah, I love this. So because of that, I try not to hype movies up. And I'm not going to hype Lady Bird up crazy amounts, but I'm just saying that it's a movie that I think pretty much anyone can relate to, whether you've been an awkward person in high school or you are just someone who's antagonistic, or if you struggle with depression at times, or really there are just so many characters, but not just characters, so many emotions and different pictures and scenes in that movie that you can relate to. And I think that's why it's so powerful. That's why it's become so popular, and that's why it's going to be, or was highly decorated at the Golden Globes. I think has an outside shot at Best Picture right now. That'll be interesting. I really feel strongly this year that Laurie Metcalf should win Best Supporting Actress. I know Allison Janney, really good in I, Tonya, and I can actually back that up now. I saw I, Tonya Monday night, I think. And yeah, Allison Janney, fantastic. She won the Golden Globe. But man, there was just something about Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird that was just is magical. And maybe that's because I relate that a lot to my own experiences growing up with my own mom, but she was just really good, really strong. So if you haven't seen Lady Bird, encourage you to check it out. I'm on this Movie Pass thing now, which my cousin first told me about back at Thanksgiving, and she was telling me the business plan, and I'm like, there's no freaking way that this is a thing, right? How do they make money? But decided to sign up for it. Doesn't work at all the theaters around me, but it does work at the one that I'm closest to, which is the Charles up there on Charles Street up in Station North. It's great. It's with like $10 a month, and I go see one movie per day, no extra charge beyond that $10 per month. So I've probably used it since I got it. So I've had it for, it's been like 30 days, but I guess 2 months in terms of billing cycles. But I've probably used it, I don't know, 8 to 10 times maybe. And yeah, I mean, that's, with movie prices today, that's like $100 worth of movies for what, $20 now. So yeah, it's a really good investment. If you've been hearing people talk about it, definitely encourage you to check it out because it's worth it. It pays for itself if you see 1 month or one movie per month. And for someone like me who loves all things movies and is a huge Oscars fan, then yeah, it's great. So check that out. Lady Bird, fantastic. Bunch of other movies that I would love to talk about. I will talk about on future podcasts and as we get closer to the Oscars here, but don't want to take up too much time talking about that. Mentioned the football games going on this weekend. Wichita boys down in Kansas, ranked number 5 in the nation. That's right. People, so I walk around Baltimore wearing my Shockers scarf, wearing my Shockers hat, got my Shockers gloves now, and people, I love it because coworkers, friends are like, oh my God, what team is that? And I'm like, bitch, please. It's Wichita. They're ranked number 5 in the nation. This isn't like your dinky community college where you got your associates. This is fucking Wichita State. So give them some respect. You know, RESPCT, find out what it means to me. Wichita is playing a trap game later tonight in Tulsa, which is a interesting new matchup for them since moving to the American Conference. Just one state down there, and Oklahoma. Wichita versus Tulsa should be fun. Wichita, of course, as you all know, because I know you follow them as closely as I have, still undefeated in the conference. Only, 2 losses this year? Notre Dame and Oklahoma, who are both going to be tournament teams. So, yeah, Wichita's looking good. We are healthy. Marcus McDuffie is back. Yeah, we are going to kick some ass come March time, gunning for that number 1 seed. Watch out. Yeah, Wichita, they're looking good. I just like saying the name. Our lovely president, Donald J. Trump. Is Trump a junior? No, because that would make Don Jr. the third. DJ TJ. Donald J. Trump. Of course, everyone is talking, and it's funny, I say of course. I'm going to come back to this recording in 2 months, and Trump does something so outlandish and ridiculous every other day that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot he said that. Kind of like Scaramucci, right? Or, I don't know, whichever one is travel bans. At this point, even though it's only been a few months since that sort of thing, you're like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that was a thing. But the entry into this week's history of just bullshit things that our great president has said, referring to shithole countries like Haiti and Africa, which is just one country, of course. Quick sidebar. Lovely memory from corn detasseling, which great summer job. Talk about it on a future podcast for those of you who don't know about corn detasseling. I still remember my buddy Josh, when we were detasseling corn, I don't remember what the word game was, but it was like 20 questions or something, and his answer was the president of Africa. And I'm like, bitch, what are you talking about? There is no president of Africa. It's a continent. And he's like, no, Africa is a country. And that's pretty much the end of the story. So I apologize for how lame it actually was. But just one of those things that sticks with you, 10 years later in your life. So president of Africa does not exist. Sorry to my friend Josh if you're listening. But President Trump calling these countries shithole countries. What I am not going to do is launch into a huge 5-minute rant on American imperialism or anything like that. I just have something very simple that I want to say about that. And it comes down to this. It's just a fundamental lack of respect. That's all it is. And it's arrogance, it's egotistical, to call anything a shithole, unless it's like Cleveland or something. That's just, man, that's, I don't know. Arrogance, ego, impatience are probably the 3 character traits that turn me off the most in people. And when you have someone call another country a shithole country because their economy isn't as developed or their people have a different skin color or they don't speak English, it's very narrow-minded, it's very disrespectful, and yeah, no one's going to take you seriously or have any respect for you when you don't show respect to them. Respect is a very simple concept. Doesn't mean it's easy to master or command. I'm still working on that a lot, but having respect for difference is something that if everybody took 5 minutes out of their day, I think, to reflect on, to ponder, we would be doing a lot better in our world. So that's what I wanted to say about shithole countries. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. You make all of us in America look just spectacular. Excuse me. Belching from those fajitas I had for lunch. Wow. Something else. So I work college admissions. If you're listening, you probably know that. Always looking for fun things to listen to as I sit there in front of my computer screen 8 to 9 hours a day, denying kids' dreams. So going through my YouTube recommended videos, you gotta listen to this, whatever. Come across, and this is ridiculous that I never come across these before because I've been playing the piano for 17 years, and I was a music major for 3 of those years. Rachmaninoff piano sonatas, 1 and 2. There's 2 of them. Rachmaninoff, of course, probably my favorite Russian composer. 2 of his piano concertos, number 2 and number 3, are some of the best of all time. Not just piano concerto-wise, but music composition-wise in the history of music composing. But his piano sonatas, number 1 and number 2. I've been listening to number 1 a lot, and I know number 2 is the more famous one, but I'm going to get to number 2 later this weekend. But if you haven't listened to them, they're like, I don't know, around half an hour long each, but fantastic. They are purely Russian. They are angry. They're passionate. It's everything that you would expect from a Rachmaninoff sonata if you know Rachmaninoff, but you don't know his sonatas, which is where I'm at right now. So it reminds me, so I've been listening to this third movement of number 1 a couple of times on repeat today, watching the sheet music with it as I go through it. Reminds me of, I went to a Famous Dave's in Frederick a couple months ago, because when you're in a new place, you want to try the local cuisine. So I go to the Famous Dave's, little local spot, and I get some sort of brisket. I don't know. I'm not a barbecue guy. I don't know my terminology, but I'm always looking to push myself when it comes to eating things. So I reach for the hottest sauce, which is Wilbur's Revenge, which I think is just like the greatest name for a hot sauce ever. Great reference to Charlotte's Web there. And I just drizzle it on, which was stupid because I had like a glass of water, but it wasn't super full. It was just a bunch of ice, and I didn't have any milk or anything like that. So I eat my brisket, and water doesn't do a ton when your mouth is on fire. And my server was just like not coming around. So thank God, because they give you, a barbecue place, they give you the roll of paper towels at each table. So that was great for my nose. But man, I was just like sucking down the ice cubes, trying to do anything to prevent it. No regrets, but yeah, if you ever go to the Famous Dave's and you're gonna lay the Wilbur's Revenge on thick, then just watch out, because that stuff will get you. Yeah, I think that is. Oh no! One more thing. My advice column, of course. If you don't know, I have an email for this podcast. It's Beantown Podcast at yahoo.com. Of course, always looking for the new sort of email technology. So I go with Yahoo because I like being new. I like being fresh, and that's what Yahoo is to me. So that's a joke. But got a good advice question from my buddy Rick, and I would love to read that. So Rick is having a tough living situation here. Let me just read out the question straightforward. Live in a house with 5 other guys. We're in college. We all split the rent and utilities equally, except for one roommate who is not wanting to pay the full utilities amount because he's never home. He has a pretty serious girlfriend, and I'm always at her house. So he doesn't think it's fair to be paying the same cut of the utilities as everyone else, which means that everyone else is paying higher than him. Is there any legal action we can take to make him pay or make him move out so we can get a new roommate and live in Idaho, if that makes any difference? So I'm glad you asked me a legal question. I have a master's degree, so I give out this advice pretty liberally. I don't think that there is legal advice or legal action you can take. Well, no, that's not true. There probably is. There probably is. That would be my answer. That was a pretty damn good answer. His question was, is there any legal action we can take? I'll say, yeah, there probably is. Now, you out there listening, you're probably saying, well, what's the legal action? I don't know. I don't have a degree, but I answered your question. So I don't really know what else you were looking for there. My answer, probably, yeah. So good luck with that, Rick. Anyone else has any advice questions, please feel free to send them along my way to the Beantown Podcast at yahoo.com. Right now, it's mostly just Grubhub, like weekend coupons, and then JCPenney ads. Because I bought a pair of chinos from JCPenney using that account. They're my podcast chinos. I wear them as I am doing the podcast. Because, you want to be comfortable. You want to look good. Anyways, that's the podcast for Saturday, January 13th. Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, proud of you. Be on the lookout next week. We're going to review another movie. We're going to be talking about how my Minnesota Vikings trashed the New Orleans Saints. Really looking forward to that game tomorrow. Anyways, I hope you're well. If you got a 3-day weekend, enjoy it. Call your mom, call your grandma, tell them Quinn sent you. All right, I'll check next week.